Proverbs 22:6 says, "Start children off on the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not turn from it." This proverb, as quickly as it is spoken, we are able to think of examples that prove it to be false. But remember, proverbs are not promises. They are simply observations about the way things often work. A definition of proverbs that I've found helpful is this: long observation, short sentence. Long observation, short sentence. When you watch for a long time, you can see certain patterns to life. And this book, Proverbs, is a book of those patterns. So long observations turned into short sentences. I really like that definition. This proverb, even though we can quickly think of examples of times that it's not true, it is also very often true. Children follow in the way of their parents. Sometimes it happens that children follow in the career of their parents. Certainly children follow in the demeanor and mannerisms of their parents. The kinds of food that you eat or the kinds of foods that you don't eat, your preferred pastimes, your preferred code of football, your children will probably follow in that. Even your dress sense or your lack thereof. Children follow in the way of their parents. And so if that's the case, this proverb is encouraging parents to start their children off in the way that they should go. It's basically just pointing out that you have power to shape your child's future by the way that you start them out, the way that you send them off, and the way that they should go. Now, before we talk about the spiritual aspect of this proverb, it's worth pointing out that it's actually not talking about the spiritual aspect of life. It's hard to separate spiritual life from the rest of life, but this proverb is probably worth noticing that it doesn't say anything about the spiritual formation of your children, but it is just saying, in general, that you should start a child off in the way that they should go, and they will not turn from it. It's also, you got to keep in mind the kind of TV that you're watching, how you're using your free time. Are you spending too much time looking at your screen and then complaining about the fact that your children do that too? Now, let's turn to the spiritual aspect of this proverb. This proverb has implications for the spiritual formation, the discipling of your children, without making promises for how it will go. Remember, this is not a promise, this is a proverb. Parents have a responsibility to their children to teach them in the way that is right, to teach them about God and his love for them. That's actually clear when you look at scripture. Deuteronomy chapter 6, which is a really important chapter of the Old Testament. It holds the Shema in it. It's this really vital part of understanding the faith of Israel. It says this, it talks about the commandments, and then it says, impress these commands on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road and when you lie down and when you get up. In the New Testament, Paul says, in the discipline and instruction of the Lord, we should raise our children in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Ephesians chapter 6. We're not just meant to leave our children to do their own discovery of the big wide world around them and leave them to make their own minds up about things. I mean, ultimately, they will make their own minds up about these things, but the task of parents, of Christian parents, is to educate your kids about the Lord. You are meant to be the primary spiritual influence in their life. See, in my job, I read a lot of research and literature about youth ministry, as you can probably imagine. And there is consensus among all of the literature that the influence of the home is a more reliable indicator in determining whether a person will come through high school and out the other end staying a Christian. So if faith is lived out at home, if Bibles are opened at home, if the Lord is on the lips of parents, if prayers are prayed together at home, that is the best indicator of whether a kid will have faith after school or not. It's not whether they went to a Christian school or a public school. It's not whether the kid regularly attended youth group or not. It's not who they chose to be best friends with. Those things are all important, but the best indicator of whether a kid will come out a Christian or not after high school is the involvement of the home in the spiritual formation of that child. Now again, that's not a promise either. In fact, that's just modern statistics agreeing with what this proverb told us thousands of years ago. See, what's happened in this statistics is just long observation turned into statistics. Whereas in the Proverbs, we have long observation, short sentences. So if you are a parent, how's this going for you? How are you going with the spiritual formation of your child? Now, no guilt, because part of being a good witness to your kids is modeling to them what to do when you've got something wrong. You say sorry, you confess, and then you change your behavior. It's important that they see you do that too. And if you are a child, if you're somebody's child, as we all are, but especially if you're still in high school, or even if you're a child, like a kid, are you letting your parents shape what is right for you? Sorry, are you letting your parents show you what is right? You might think that you know better, but your parents have lived much more life than you have, and they love you incredibly. So they're worth listening to. Proverbs 22:6. Start children off in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it.